All right, welcome to the stream. I am Greg, the creator of Superhero Coding. Thanks for being here. This is the one game a month series where I build one simple but complete game in a month, live streamed. It's all there. This is the last session for November 2023, session 5, because we had 5 Thursdays and I'm trying to do it every Thursday. Today the games are not in a bad state. Today we're going to add, I think, a power up and maybe a score. We're going to tweak graphics a little bit. So, just as a reminder before we jump in, you can get the code. If you just want to follow along and do what I do, you are welcome to do that always. These videos will always be here. If you want my code, go to superherocoding.com and you can get the first week of the month free. Just to give you a starting off point to follow from there. If you want the other, if you want the code and art that I use for the other weeks, that is a minimal fee while the month is happening. But after the end of the month, which is today when I'm recording this, the price jumps. So I'm going to do that. But you can go there and get individual games from the individual months, whether you want to make a Flappy Bird game, Space Invaders game, or what. Without further ado, I'm going to pull up my project and switch over to that. All right. So, to recap, let's see. This is scene 8. And just to recap where the game is at. So we're here. We've got a boss. If we kill the boss without dying, then we win. The boss is spawning enemies that shoot at us. It's not an easy game because there's so much bullet spam. It'd be more interesting if when you killed one of the bots that all their bullets went away too. But that would probably make it a little more fair to do that. And we would. And that one, I killed the boss. I talked about a winning condition of you kill the. I lost and I won. I talked about a winning condition of maybe you kill the boss and all the drones go past without you dying. That should be a win condition, but not gonna have time to code that right now. Today, I think we're gonna do a power up. I think a power up that like cleared the screen would be kind of cool. That showed up every once in a while. And that would be cool. Maybe it drops and it's something positive that you have to grab. That would be easier than trying to code something random on the ground, I guess. I don't want to put a score in there, and then I'm going to tweak things a little bit. It's not even really easy for me to see at the moment right here on the screen, sitting right in front of it. So if you're watching on mobile, I'm really sorry. You just probably see a flurry of dots, which, well, it's kind of all it is, but it's more than that. So I'm not happy with it. I may end up tweaking this one after the fact. And that's one of the things. If you buy the project, you will always get the updates to that particular project. If I make other updates, if I get bored next weekend and decide I'm going to add, levels and stuff or upgrade the art on this November 2023 project, you would get the art and the code for that, whatever else. I would probably live stream it as well. But if you buy the project, you're always going to get all the stuff for it, even if I do it a year later. And I might. I'm going to start, as I often do, by duplicating the scene. 209. Right. Double click that. Double check up here. Good to go. So, 2 things I want to do. I want to do a score and I want to do a power up. The power up would. So let's play again. Let's get a bunch of stuff on the screen. And I'm going to Control-Shift-P to pause. You can also just click the little pause button up there. But I just want to look at and see, okay, what is exactly what I want to destroy. So the way this is set up, these objects are all there, but they're turned off. We instantiate, then we turn them on, because like I talked about, you don't want to just use the live objects because then they get destroyed and then it doesn't have its like main thing to work with to create them. Could save them as prefabs. I do that sometimes. I like doing it this way. It gives me more flexibility to work until I'm really have everything nailed down, and I don't yet. So what I'm looking for right now is I just wanted to kind of get a visual of, you know, okay, if I went and looked at everything that was active that was called enemy or enemy bullet, I could just wipe all those out, and then we're left with a blank slate. That's probably terrible code to do a find on all those. The other option would be if every time I instantiate something, I keep up with it over here in the Spacebar script. And then I call all of those and say, okay, now remove everything you've spawned. That might be easier because everything that we spawn, well, but then you run into if you remove stuff from that list without cleaning up the list, you end up with nulls and stuff instead. So maybe I should have picked an easier power up. Maybe I should have thought this through. Yeah. But this is why I'm doing it live. I want people to see, I want people to hear how a game developer thinks. I am a professional programmer, professional game developer, professional Unity user. I've been all those for well over a decade. Well over in some cases. And you build something and you go, hey, you know what? I think I'd like to do this feature. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you go, yeah, I got it over my head. And that's okay, man. That's all part of the process. So, well, let's see. I guess a game object find would work. I just don't know what I want to do. All right, let's start with the score. Maybe we'll start there. Maybe we'll build a power up later. Is that kind of cheating? Maybe. I don't care. I'm gonna turn that off because the game starts with it off anyway. So turn that off so I can see stuff like my player bullet. If I go to this, actually not going to start with the score. I'm going to start with some of the stuff that I think needs a little bit of tweaking, like the bullet. I think the bullet should be a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, a little bit easier to see. Play that. Okay. That's definitely easier to see. It's bigger anyway. It's still hard to see against the dark background. So what I can do there is I can I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to Control-Shift-P to pause. There's just not enough contrast there. So I'm going to take this player blue, and there's a couple different things I could do. I don't know if I'm actually using HDR. I guess I am. That would be kind of wacky. We don't need all that. Just going to change the blue color to be more of a brighter blue. Something like that. That still works. That's where we were. That's more kind of where we are. It's still blue-ish, but it's much, much, much easier to see. And because it's a material in the project, that is one of the things that will stay the same even when I come out of play mode. Other thing I really want to change, I think the enemy's fine. I think the enemy bullet is, again, way too tiny. Probably just needs to get scaled up. Scale it up a little bit. That might make it a whole lot harder. You know, that's not bad, other than the invisible one, which is coming from the one that turn off. Let's see. Okay, so I just undid. So that defaults off. That defaults off. Back on. I need this to be a little bit bigger. Something like that. That's not bad. Those both back off. Hit play. Just a tiny bit more, I think. That's better. That's better. I like that a lot more. I don't think, yeah, my bullets don't actually trigger collisions with the enemy. Now you might be confused because everything just reverted. So if you remember, our play again button when the game is done loads scene 0. And because we've not updated scene 0, it's loading the old one. If I add the open scene, that's 9. I delete the old one. Now this is 0. Now when we hit play again, we will get the current one again. And that's just something to bear in mind if you do use the incremental naming like this, which I still highly recommend. It's too easy for a single individual file to get corrupted. I see this in the forums, like, my Unity scene is gone. How can I get it back? It's like, yeah. Like, I still have the app. Most of the time, those are probably not legit, but even if they are, I mean, you don't want to trust everything on one little file. Anyway, I've got the game looking better. I think the blue reads easier. I think the yellow is easier to see. That's good. I like that a lot. Now I just got to figure out this power-up situation. I think it would have been easier if I'd done something different. You know what? Let's try and find out. Let's try and find out. I do still want to add a score on here. See if we have time for that. That might end up being a bonus lesson. All right, create a script called powerup. Soon as it lets me give it a name. Create a script. Go. Powerup. And really, I could just put this on the ground and it pops up after a certain amount of time. I think it potentially dropping, like there's a 1% chance or something of it dropping from the boss. Also be interesting. Probably going to do that. So I want to create something different than everything else. We have not made a capsule yet, so we're going to do that. Take yellow here, duplicate it, call it green, power up. Drag that onto there. Guess we've got a green floor, but it's fine. Do a bright green and shiny metallic. Yeah, it's different. It's different than the flat green that we've got there, so that works. I want it to be a little smaller, and I probably want it to. No, I want a rigid body on here because I want it to drop. Tempted to put some kind of spin on it or something when I launch it, but I'm probably not going to mess with that right now. Might be a bit much. Okay, so it's a power up. We're going to have the power up script on here and boss. We're going to change the boss script so it might drop the power up. That works. All right, so double click here, go in space boss while it drinks some tea. Swap back over to here for a second, make sure. All right, stream help. That's good. That's good. All right, blah, blah, blah. Back to here. And All right, there's your code. So we want to public game object power up. It's gonna be a game object because we just need the Unity thing itself. We don't need anything on it necessarily. And this code's actually gonna be pretty similar. We could make it move too. Interesting. Okay, firing a bullet. Let's say if random.range inclusive 0.0 comma yeah, random number between 1 and 0, like that for some reason, is bigger than 0.2. I mean, of all the times it fires, let's say there's a 10% chance of dropping a power up. We'll adjust that. Yep. Float power up chance equals 0.1f. We just make it public so that we can adjust it as we go, and we can tweak it. I want a debug log that says getting ready to drop the power up. Now, since we're using this space boss script in several places, we are using it on the space boss, but we're also using it on the enemies that it spawns, right? Space boss, script, enemy, also space boss script. What I want to do, if power up equals null, debug log, we have no power up, this must be a minion. They don't get power ups. So that, let's see, no, if it's less than this, if the random number between 0 and 1 is less than the power up chance, so 0.1. And we're actually going to leave that as is. We're going to copy all this. Don't want guided game object. Yeah, okay. New power up equals instantiate. In this case, let's do that. Check to see if this exists. If not, then spawn it. And copy that, paste there, paste there. Same thing, activate it. Parent. Oh. We still need to code, write the actual power up code. That's okay. What I'm looking for right now is I want to power up, and I'm actually going to move it up a little bit, even over a little bit, just so it doesn't quite look like it's dropping straight from the boss, because it would be weird if the boss helped you every so often. So by offsetting it a little bit, it should spawn there, but that's going to that's just going to give it a little bit of a spin. And the other thing, we probably need like the bullet script just to give it some downward motion. So I'm going to copy the component. I'm going to paste as new there. It's not a player bullet. I'm actually going to, no, let's It's a whole different thing. I don't want it to be tagged as a player bullet because I don't want to destroy it. Well, you know, why not? So that way it will destroy things it comes in contact with. That's all right. Let's make the move speed a little bit faster. And you could balance this where move speed is -10, but the chance is higher. So the chance is higher, but they come down pretty quick. You got to be right next to it to get it. Like so many things, we're going to start there and just see how that goes. We need to drag power up here, power up chance, that's fine. And so the thing about this, every time it gets ready to fire a bullet or an enemy, it will check that power up chance. So save, I'm gonna hit play. Let's see if we did our job right. Not seeing any power ups, Bob. Let's see. Okay, so both of these have power up in it. So let's look here for. Okay. Something was triggering. Okay. We have no power up. This must be a minion. Game object name is object.name. Log boss is instantiating a power up. Yep. So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna crank this up to 0.5. So now it ought to be dropping them non-stop. And it's not. Okay, so something's going wrong because it seems to be thinking that it's dropping them. So isn't. So actually, I'm going to hit pause first, then I'm going to hit play. So this enables me to basically stop the game scene before it starts happening. And I'm just going to delete all of the enemies entirely because I just want, and I'm actually going to turn the player off. And I'm waiting. Okay, getting ready to drop a power up, but we have no power up, but that was the minion. Why is the boss not dropping props? A very high chance he ought to be dropping some power ups. Here, boss, shooting speed, going, no bullet. Okay. Random range 0 to 0.5 is less than power up chance. Right, let's float. Do the same thing again. I'm going to hit pause first and then play, and she'll turn the player off. Pause. Okay, well, that clearly said, oh, there they are. They're, oh, I think they're hitting the death wall. Okay, that would explain it. So what we want to do is we're going to take it and we're going to move it down a little bit. That. There we go. Just hitting the death wall. So obviously that's way too fast, but it's given me a good idea. I can even move it up a little bit. Hitting the death wall there. So something like that. It's not bad. So I'm going to copy component. I'm going to, for power up, I'm going to paste component values. Now I know everything's working. Let's do a 10% chance. That's probably still too fast. And again, I'm going to pause first, and then I'm going to hit play to turn off my player. And still kind of a lot. Still pretty high. So 0.05. 5% chance. It's a lot of bad guys. Now it's not happening at all. Oh, there's one. Okay, back to 10. Way too much. I like that it's hitting the big barrier there and kind of bouncing off. It's kind of fun. Okay, so 10% isn't terrible. I don't hate it. Let's go ahead and play. Lost. Again. Whoop. There. Okay. I think I would have grabbed it. Oh, see? I died trying to get the power up that time. So that makes it kind of interesting. Okay, that time I would have hit it. All right, so this is good. Power up, we've got the power up script. And let's see, all of my bullets, I believe they are all triggers. My enemies are triggers, my bullets are triggers. Your bullet trigger, all right, power up, guess what? Going to be a trigger. So I'm going to double click that. And really, I can probably, because the only thing we're doing is the move speed, probably should have just duplicated this. I actually have in my power up script nothing. All right, deleting the power up script. We're going to use bullet. We're going to start with bullet, and I could make a parent class and all that stuff. That's complicated. My goal here is to keep it simple. Duplicate bullet. F2. Just click it. Rename, and it's going to be called power up. Because I promised that I was going to show you how I work, how a professional game developer works, how a professional programmer works. This is how it works. Take something that's kind of sort of like what I wanted, and oh yeah, let's start with that. Let's rip things out. Let's put things back in. Let's make it better than he was before. Power up. I want to move speed. His player bullet falls, so don't need that because we just thinking about a way to implement things. Don't need that. I'll leave it in for now. Space Manager. I need that reference. This is the key stuff that we actually need and want to keep. We do want some trigger something, but see, that's good. This is actually what we want, except instead of losing, they're going to get his player bullet falls. So I'm going to remove this. I mean, I guess the power up could destroy enemies when it hits. It's not a bad thing. All right, so I'm going to leave that, and I'm actually going to mark player bullet be true. So what I want is power up. I removed the script. Let's remove it. There's a way you can add it on, but that's not necessary here. All right, can't add it. Because I didn't rename, I did rename it. I didn't save it. Back here, take a drink of tea. Right. Split script. Power up does not need that. Okay, I'm going to show you the trick. So if you used to be able to drag a script into this, and if it was similar, it would work. Now you have to go into debug mode. If you've never turned debug on, it has a whole lot more information, all kinds of stuff. Interesting. Once you've done that, you can drag a script into here. Now, because I duplicated the script, that worked. If I dragged like Space Player into here, I don't know what it would do. It would not go well. And then you come back out of debug mode, and now it's power up. Because I like the move speed that I had in the bullet. You remember, that wasn't the default bullet speed. That was the speed that I got and liked. This player bullet I like. Debug on I like. Space Manager, want to keep that. So because I wanted to keep all those things, it was easier to turn on debug mode, replace the script that way. Except now, if we hit the player, except this time, let's call it, well, don't need to check for is player bullet because it's not. It is a power up. It will always be a power up. I think I'll use this script for anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete that, because otherwise it would say if player bullet is true, if player bullet is true, and if you've got it, if it's only ever going to be useful when it's true, there's no point in putting that. So I'm going to just delete that, and I'm going to delete that. So we hit an object. If it's player, you get superpowers. And we do not want to do in-game stuff. We do not want to destroy the other object. And this is where we will, where we want to find everything. This is where it gets tricky. All right. Let's try. This is going to be ugly if it works, but it's all right. Game object array equals my enemy. No, all enemies. All enemies. Game object array all enemies equals game object capital G. Find game objects with tag. Okay, we can work with that. Because our is enemy. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, I don't want to destroy the boss, but we can filter the boss out. Otherwise, we want to grab everything with a tag, not called boss. That'll work, because it's either going to be an enemy or an enemy bullet. Cool, let's do that. So we're looking for the tag is enemy. So what that's going to do is that's going to find every object tag is enemy. We don't want to mess with the ones that are inactive, because that'll destroy our prefabs. We don't want to mess with the boss. So that'll grab everything else. So then I guess we'll do like for each. So the best way to do that. Let's ask the Google. Okay. Respawns equals. This is closer to what we're doing. Okay, yeah. So we're doing something like that. We want an array, everything with a tag. Yeah, okay. Enemy in all enemies. So that says is we're making an array of game objects called all enemies, and we want to put everything that has a tag is enemy into that array. If it was public, you'd see a whole big list of them real quick. Not gonna do that. And then we want to check. Okay, we want to make sure the game object is active. Want to make sure the game object's name is not boss. All right, and so we're going to be dealing with what this does if you're not familiar with for each. Since we have an array of objects, which is just it's going to be a big string of objects called all enemies, and now it's saying, okay, go through for each thing in all enemies, treat it as a game object called enemy. So first we're going to say if first let's filter out the boss. It's a one and done. If enemy dot name equals boss. This is the boss. We won't destroy it. Else, nested if. First, we want to check that. If we pass that check, then we want to say if enemy dot active equals true, because we only want the ones that are active. And I could do it if, you know, that's the way we're doing it. Object active is obsolete. Use game object set active, active self, or active hierarchy. Okay. So I guess it wants active in hierarchy. Sure. Self. We'll try active in hierarchy. Then we want to enemy set active false. Now, really, we'd want to destroy it, but we're going to set active to be false first, just to test and see if the code works. And that's going to loop through everything, each one it finds. Is it the boss? If it is, we don't want to mess with it. If it's not the boss, then it's active in the hierarchy. Then we want to set active. Let's just destroy it. Destroy. Capital D. Destroy enemy. Probably redundant, but it's fine. All right. Now, when the player hits that game object, it should destroy all of the enemies. Everything tagged is enemy. That is not the boss, and that is not deactive. Deactivated. Deactivated. All right, let's try it. Excited for that. Ooh, did not win. Yeah, later we will have to work on the game logic. And we might not make it to score today. Try to keep these sessions 45 minutes or so. There's no power-ups coming. And I think I ought to be able to shoot the bullets out of the sky. Oh, there's a power-up. Yeah, I can do it. Hey, look at that. Hey, look at that. Boom. All right. So now if I had had score, I would want to add score for all those items. So we could so we got Space Boss here, Space Boss there, the bullets. Putting back to the Space Manager. Does the Space Manager have a score? It does not. Time. Well, why not? Public int. My score equals 0. Yep. On awake. My score equals 0. Public void add to score int how many points and my score plus equals, which is my score equals my score plus points, and then we'll just debug log and say my current score is my score. Yeah. Let's get that working first. All right, so I will need a reference to the Space Manager inside a bullet. Hey, guess what? We already have one. So we'll do public int point value. Let's put it. Why not? Right, public int point value and a default of 1 point. And let's see. That's where the player loses. That's where we destroy an enemy. That's where we destroy the main boss. That's where we destroy something else. So let's say my Space Manager add to score point value. Yeah. And same thing there. So I guess that's not good code. What we'll do instead is we would do it up here, because whether it's the main boss or another boss, we're going to add point value, which is a public variable, so it's good either way. This, let me that. All right, we got this. End of game stuff. And I'll do this again and score 0, just so that we get a final, because you remember at the end of add to score, we say, hey, your score is blah, blah, blah. Just so we get an end of game score. So in bullet, which is the boss, the enemy, and the enemy bullet, we need to give them point values. Let's say the boss is worth bullet. Okay, I think. Yeah, okay. I'll worry about that later. For now, the enemies, the bullet script, the enemies themselves will be worth 10 points. The bullets, we can't actually destroy. They're not worth any points. If I'm the player and I hit the boss, okay, actually we do need to do this differently. That's fine, but if it's the main boss, so this is a player bullet hitting the main boss or another thing, except the main boss doesn't have this tag. So what we want to do, if it's the main boss, we want to add, say, 500 points. Whereas if it's this, we just want to add point value. So, no, because that's coming from player. It's not really what we want either. Okay. Player shoots an enemy, not the main boss. It gets 10 points. Public variable was not useful. So delete it. Right. Easy enough. Enemy's worth 10, main boss worth 500. And yeah, that works. And then the other thing we want to do, we will need a reference to the Space Manager. We're on power up. Oh, look, we already have one. What we'll want to do here is, so we don't want to destroy that, don't want to destroy that, we want to destroy the enemy, and we want to add to score. Here we're going to add just 1 point each because we're destroying all the enemies and all the bullets and everything. So that'll be interesting. Let's see if that works. Works. We're going to do a score readout. We're going to be done. All right. There. I hit an enemy. I have broken the game. How did I break the game? I don't know. Hey. 15 points, just like that. Did I hit the boss? Hey, current score is 525. I must have hit the boss. So, a lot of debug log stuff on here. Let's just score. All right. You know what? Actually, we know it works. We already have a canvas. I'm just going to go nuts and add a UI text. No, that's not what I want. I wanted to add a game object that was UI text. That's going to say score, and it's going to have the player score. So the game manager, let's do that. One of these. It's going to be text player score. And let's do this. Text player score dot text equals score colon quote space and my score. To string would work without the dot to string, but it makes the thing happy. Because this is an integer and I'm trying to print it as text, so it's better to return string. I'll just leave that in. The other thing I need to do is, and I can even start that out with my score 0, or I can even, what's this? Well, yes. Add to score 0, and so do that. What that will do, that will just call that function once, and it will put the player score on. All right, I think this is going to work. Not yet. Need to assign the player score. Text score. Right. Space Manager, player score, save. Should have grabbed it up. All right. Score 1020. I don't know how. All right. I hit an enemy. Yeah, the game loop needs some work, but that is 9 points. 29 points. 139. All right. Game loop needs some work. Probably what I would do is have it so that it will clear everything out. Because what's happening is it's still spawning things even when it says that the game's done. It's not, but I can use the script that I have now to find all the objects and clear everything out. So it's not perfect, but it's ours. We built this over the last 5 sessions. So I hope this series is showing you that you can build a game in a handful of hours. Please drop a comment if you're watching live or replay. Drop that in the comments. Let me know. Let me know if you like this format, if you like seeing one game a month built, live streamed, good, the bad, and the ugly, when I look stuff up and everything, hearing my thought process. That, you know, the whole goal of this is to help people, learn how I do things, how I think. Not that I'm the best at doing this stuff, because I'm not. I know guys that are much better than me at this stuff. But I have been doing a long time. I am battle tested in making games and apps and Unity stuff. Been doing that for a long time. So my goal is to help people who are new kind of see that a whole project can be complete, simple, fun, not take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, because like that. Here's the thing. When employers are looking at a resume, and I speak as someone who is a hiring manager looking for programmers, I looked at people that had finished projects. Didn't matter if they looked good, because we weren't hiring them as artists. There was one person in particular, this lady that had published games out to the App Store and the Google Play Store. That was enough. She is my one and only choice for the position. Somebody who was number 2 at the company that I'd co-founded. She was the number 2 programmer behind me, and when I had no more interesting problems to solve and left, she took over. I trained her up. She took off. She's still there many years later. It's fantastic. Fantastic programmer. But the reason we hired her, the reason that I insisted that we hire her, is because she had finished projects on her resume. She knows how to get through all the hurdles of the App Store. She knows how to get through all the hurdles of the Google Play Store. She's done it. I think more than once in each case. Didn't matter. That was enough. Everybody else, I've got experience in this, experience in that, experience in that. This one guy came in and he said he had extensive experience in Visual Basic and C++ and Java and JavaScript. And well, that's impressive. You usually don't find people with extensive experience with Visual Basic and C++. And he was like, oh yeah, and upon further questioning, he's like, well, we spent a week on it in school. I'm like, not extensive experience. And of course, we knew, myself and the hiring manager, we knew, because we'd talked about it, but we had agreed to bring him in. Somebody else had agreed to it, so we did, and it was fine. But you can put whatever you want on your resume, but finished projects speak volumes. It's easy to start things. It's hard to finish them. But that's why I'm doing this series. I'm doing this series, one game a month, live streamed, 4 or 5 hours per game. It's nothing fancy, but it's a complete game, and it's finished. I would take somebody that's made these games following along and finished them and published them up on itch or especially if they got them on Steam or something, or the App Store, over somebody that started 100 things that looked more fancy than this and never finished any of them, because you learn more about finishing than you ever will by starting. On that nugget of wisdom, I'm going to peace out. We'll see you next month with a new game and new code. Superherocoding.com. Check that out. It's a place to get the good stuff.